Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to my channel, Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another fantastic installment of the FanHome Build the Batmobile. I am working on pack number 7, shipment number 7, and these are phases 27 through 32. That's 6 more phases I'll be completing in this build. We'll pretty much complete the bottom part of the chassis, install a few components on it, along with the rear axle, and it's fun. This is a real short video, shouldn't take very long to do with this one, and I'm enjoying this immensely. Head over to FanHome and subscribe to this today. Don't miss out on the opportunity on getting your own 1/8 scale 1966 Batmobile. It's super cool. Let's get started. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another fantastic installment for the FanHome Build the Batmobile. I received pack number 7 the other day and received 6 more stages or phases to this build. Phase 27 through 32. Now, as you know, we pretty much stopped building the chassis with the last pack, so we're going to continue building onto the chassis with this build, and some of the phases will be shorter than the others. It shouldn't take very long to complete this. So let me go ahead and show you what I received as a free gift, and remember, your free gift can vary depending on when you subscribe to this. And I received a t-shirt, the Batman t-shirt, Batman TV series t-shirt, so that's fantastic there. Stage 27, we receive more of the chassis. Stage 28, some of the cross members for the chassis. Stage 29, once again another cross member with the shock mounts. Stage 30, the rear differential. Stage 31, continuation with the rear differential. And lastly, stage 32, one of the rear springs. Very cool there. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's get right into this. Phase 27, the TV show, The Curse of Tut, Season 1, Episode 27. Great Batman Comics, 0 year from back in 2013 and 14. Batman year by year. So we have Batman 63. And here's our parts, step-by-step guide. Very simple to do here. Going to finish off the other side of the chassis with that. So let me get the parts and I will be right back. Here's the parts for 27. Let's get a closer look. And here we are. Please excuse the air conditioner as I am in the middle of summertime here in southern Arizona, and we've exceeded temperatures well over 100 degrees each day, so definitely need to have the air conditioner running in the background. So here's our close-up of those chassis parts, the frame assemblies, all made of metal, very nice finish to them, and CM screws. First part here, we're going to go ahead and combine the two frames, and they simply just install together just like that, facing up, and we'll put 2 CM screws into that. I'm going to put a little oil on the screw. Oil helps you out, Makes it easier to install them and prevents from cross-threading the screw end and or breaking the screw head off. There we go. Bring over the chassis. We're going to go ahead and hook up our other part of the frame to the chassis on the other side. And 2 more CM screws will go into that right there and right there. Go ahead and tighten them both down. Left the other one loose a bit. There we go. Looks good there. And that's all I do with phase 27 or stage 27. Let's go ahead and get started on phase 28. Let's look at the magazine for phase 28. TV show, season 1, episode 28, The Pharaohs in a Rut. Gotham by Gaslight. This is from 1989. That's Batman Comics. Batman Year by Year is Batman 64. And our instructions here, our parts we received. More for the chassis, the Crossmembers, and such. Going to go ahead and install a couple of Crossmembers here. Same thing, we're going to be using CM screws for all that, both sides. And that's what it will look like. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Here's the parts for phase 28. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the crossmember. And the other one. Both are made of metal. And CM screws. Go ahead and take this crossmember here. And notice that the opening's on top, just like the chassis. And we're going to insert that right here up against. This is a cross member, so it's going to go in on both sides there. And we're going to put 3 CM screws into this, and the cross member is completely installed. Now we'll go further back onto the chassis, install the other cross member, and that's going to go across just like that with the flat side facing up. And there we go. Both are installed. And that's all I do with phase 28. Let's head over and do phase 29. Let's look at the magazine for phase 29. This time, season 1, episode 29, The Bookworm Turns. Great Batman Comics, Arkham Asylum, and that was from 1989. Batman Year by Year, and we have Batman 65. And moving on to our parts here, once again we'll have a rear frame shock absorber mount. Install that. Pretty easy there. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Phase 29 parts. Let's get a closer look. CM and EM screws. Here's that cross member for the shock mount, made of metal. And the top of the shocks, they are also made of metal. And we're going to mount these with EM screws. And just a little bit snug, not too tight. Just a little loose here. It's good. That's how that looks. Now we'll mount this to the chassis. They're going to mount right here. And these should be loose. and just going to lay that down right on top. Just like that. And 2 cm screws will go into that. And note that your shocks should be facing the back of the car. And there you go. It's fully installed. That completes phase 29. Let's head over and do phase 30. Let's look at the magazine for phase 30. And this TV episode is from Season 1, Episode 30, While Gotham City Burns, from April 21st, 1966. Great Batman comics, one of the most perfect frame-ups. That's from 1941. Batman year by year. This is Batman 66. And our parts here, we receive our rear differential axle housing, slip yoke, and spider joint. Been working on that a little bit here. Just the slip yoke this time. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Here's the parts for phase 30. Let's get a closer look. AP screws. Here's our axle housing, rear diff cover, and the slip yoke assembly. Now this slip yoke assembly is plastic, but the AP screws into this, and you don't want to tighten it down all the way, you want it so it can still move. And definitely don't over tighten it. That's good there. Moves just fine. Bring it over and slide it into the cover for the slip yoke. Don't need any screws. That's all we do with phase 30. Let's head over and do phase 31. Let's look at the magazine for phase 31. And this time the TV show is from Season 1, Episode 31, Death in Slow Motion. Great Batman comics, Born to Kill. Batman year by year, this would be Batman 1966. And we'll continue with the rear axle and the cover for it, the differential cover. Finish assembling the rear axle and diff cover. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Here's the parts for phase 31. Let's get a closer look. AP, AM screws, the other part of the axle, and this is made of plastic, along with the differential cover, which is also made of plastic. I'm going to go ahead and mount this cover on the axle, and simply just goes down on top of it like that. And 2 AM screws will go into this, and the last one here. Tighten it down. Going into metal. I did put a little oil on the screw. Good there. And that's what that looks like there. Alright, bring over our axle, and we're going to sandwich the front of the differential to it. Now we want it to have the side that has more of a curvature to it, this right here. So as I have the axle in front of me with the shock mounts facing down and that curvature right there, that's going to go on top just like that. And 2 AP screws go into this. Once again, these screws are going into plastic, so you don't want to over tighten them or they'll strip. Just till they're snug. That's good there. And that's what that looks like there. You see how that's configured. Shock mounts on the bottom. And lastly, we're going to take our differential cover with the drain hole on the right hand side. Remember, our shock mounts are facing down, and we're going to press fit that in place. That should be good. That's how that looks. That completes phase 31. Let's go ahead and get started on the final phase for this pack, phase 32. Let's look at the magazine for the final phase for this pack, phase 32. Once again, from Season 1, Episode 32, The Riddler's False Notion. And the great Batman comics, Batman Double Force Superman. This was from 1971. Batman Year by Year, again, Part 3 of Batman 66. And our parts, this time we received the left rear leaf spring, shock absorber mount, U-bolts nut, shock absorber rod, and we got a nut wrench to do everything there. We're going to install the leaf spring, the mounting plate, the U-bolts, and the nuts. And install the upper shock, or the bottom of the shock. Let me get the parts, I'll be right back. Here's the parts for phase 32. Let's get a closer look. EM screws. Here's our shock absorber, and it's made of metal. Very nice finish to that, the silver finish. Here's our leaf spring, made of metal also. Very cool. The mounting plate for the leaf spring, also made of metal. The U-bolts, which are very cool, they are actually threaded. With the nuts, we have 4 small nuts for the U-bolts. Bring over our axle with mounts. These are actually the mounts for the leaf springs. And we're going to put the one on the right side, or it looks like the left side. And we want to have the shorter side facing the front of the pumpkin there. Go ahead and turn this around, because they turned it on us on the instructions. And we'll take this and mount that like that. Put an EM screw into that on top. So I would recommend you get your screw started first on this mounting, and then take it out. Get your thread started. Going to leave it a little loose for our U-bolts. And then we're going to take our U-bolt and we're going to put that on okay, just like that. Okay, the U-bolt has been inserted. Get the nut started for both sides. Go. You can see they're started, and we'll take our wrench that they gave us and just screw them down a little bit. Going to go ahead and get the other side started. And all the nuts are started. I'm going to try to make sure the spring is as parallel as possible. I want to tighten down the center screw. And a little bit firmer there. And snug up the nuts. You don't want to go too tight with them. You definitely don't want to break your U-bolt. So just snug. Go. And how that U-bolt looks there. Just give a real quick check here again. Not too tight. It's good there. And later on you can put some thread locker on there. Use some thread locker like this. And go ahead and mount the shock absorber on here. And we'll leave the shock absorber loose. That's what that looks like there. And there you go. That completes phase 32. Looks great. Very easy to do, I must say. I'll be right back. And that completes pack number 7, where we completed the other side of the chassis here. The frames looks really good, and we worked on the rear axle and differential and some of the shocks and the spring. Great, can't wait to get the next pack where we'll complete these. If you haven't done so already, head over to FanHome and subscribe to the Batmobile today. Get it while it's available. You won't regret it. It's a fantastic build. I highly recommend it. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. Happy modeling, everybody, and we'll see you in the next shipment, shipment number 8.